Welcome to another Rubicon Crypto Kitchen Table Conversation. Joining us today as a special guest is Michael Greenwald. Michael is a former U.S. Treasury Department official and a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. Michael, today we're talking about central bank digital currencies, a subject I know you know a lot about. Perhaps you could share with our audience why this topic should matter to all Americans.
Well, Greg, thank you for having me. I think when you look at the rails of the financial system, they're working still too slow and still too costly for the average consumer. And I think this conversation really came to a head at the height of COVID, when stimulus payments were trying to be sent to people's homes. They weren't fast enough, they went to the wrong homes, they weren't more efficiently streamlined done. And so there was a conversation about a digital dollar. And there's a conversation whether we need a digital dollar or whether we're in search of a problem. I think when you look at central bank digital currencies and the rise of them globally, according to the Atlantic Council, there's over 100 central banks right now in a pilot program for a central bank digital currency. So what does that mean? It means that a country's sovereign digital currency will be governed by the central bank, and there'll be a digital version. So a digital pound, a digital euro, a digital yen. Now, a lot of this is a reaction to decentralized finance, the rise of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, other blockchains, because central banks are realizing that they're not the only game in town. And I think here in the United States, one of the central debates that the Fed is looking at is whether the United States needs a US digital dollar, whether it will actually help with financial inclusion issues, will it be good for the consumer, and how will it be set up? Will there be an act of Congress? And part of that is the response to the US executive order, which calls on all the agencies to report back and what happens with the central bank digital currency going forward.
Michael, I've heard you say before that China is already standing on the podium of the central bank Olympics, so to speak. Why do we have to pay attention to China, and why is that potentially so alarming to those of us here in the United States?
Well, listen, Greg, we talk here today at a moment where the dollar is dominant, and central bank dollar reserves are below 60% for the first time in 25 years. I think what we're seeing come out of China is their version of what the future of money is for China, their next chapter of the Belt and Road. And we can't become complacent here in the United States, especially a large power economically, military, trading, supply chain like China, embarking upon really creating a system that makes the dollar irrelevant for Chinese citizens. And I think that's the concern. Now, am I really concerned about China in the short term? No. But I think that the US can't be complacent. I think that the United States needs to constantly innovate. Now, whether that's a digital dollar or making the rails better and less costly, and how the different decentralized stablecoin buckets will coexist, that's a conversation for regulators. Those guardrails are being played out. But what authoritarian governments are doing with central bank digital currencies, that's something we need to keep a close eye on.
Michael, as always, thank you for a very timely and insightful perspective. And we look forward to seeing you at another time here on Rubicon Crypto Kitchen Table Talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.